I thought the worst part of flying alone with my 3-month-old son, story related. I thought the worst part of flying alone with my 3-month-old son would be the turbulence, until a flight attendant leaned over me and whispered, "Control your child, or there will be consequences." I tried to stay invisible, clutching his bottle with shaking hands, but when she suddenly ripped it away, and the entire cabin turned silent, I realized this flight was no longer about a crying baby. It was about something far more dangerous, and the next sound that echoed down the aisle changed everything. By the third hour of the flight, the cabin air was thick with suffocating tension. Noah had finally exhausted himself to sleep, but his internal clock demanded food. My trembling hands reached into my bag, extracting a pre-sealed, TSA-approved bottle of formula. I just wanted to feed my son. I just wanted peace. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" The lead flight attendant, Lauren, materialized beside my row. Before my exhausted brain could process it, her hand shot out, violently clamping around the bottle. "This is unverified outside liquid," Lauren declared loudly, projecting her voice to maximize my public humiliation. "It strictly violates our security policies." "It's sealed infant formula," I pleaded. "Security checked it at the gate. My baby has to eat. I am the ultimate authority on this aircraft," she retorted, her eyes blazing with a dark, tyrannical thrill. With a sudden jerk, Lauren ripped the bottle from my grasp and tossed it directly into her trash bag. Noah awoke instantly, emitting a piercing, terrified shriek. A primal instinct within me snapped. The terrified mother vanished. I unbuckled my seatbelt, stood up, and demanded, "I want the captain notified immediately. You are entirely out of line." Lauren's face contorted into pure fury. The polished professional vanished. Without a single word, she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. The sharp crack echoed through the cabin. I stumbled backward, collapsing into my seat while instinctively curling my arms around Noah. A collective gasp sucked the oxygen from the plane. Lauren leaned down, whispering with terrifying energy, "Sit down, shut your mouth, and do not make this worse for yourself." But as I looked up in stunned silence, I realized Lauren had made a fatal miscalculation, because right behind her, in the shadows of the dimmed cabin, a dozen tiny red recording lights had suddenly illuminated. Update 2. This doesn't read as anywhere near realistic enough to be believable. Flight attendants are pre-selected and trained to never interact like this. They don't whisper threats or intimidate unprovoked passengers minding their business, baby, or not. They don't have control freak personality tendencies, or they would never be in that role, and they don't start altercations. Anyone with these personality tendencies would not make it to the screening to get hired, and if they did, they would not last very long, let alone would never rise to lead role. Have you ever known an airline hostess in real life? They just aren't like that, at all. If there's TSA-approved baby formula, a flight attendant would most certainly know about it, and so on. Finally, most people won't sympathize with an infant on a flight. Many people would sit down near this on a flight and think, "Oh no, this might not go well. I wish I brought earplugs." So you need to do something to build sympathy first for the young mother. You need to add to the story where we see mother is really struggling just to get into her seat, how she's going to see her dying mother, how the father has left her. Whatever you can do to build our empathy, to see just how hard it is for her, not just start there. That is what turns it around and gives us sympathy for a young mother. But this has to be done first. The premise seems to hinge up upon the fact that an employee in a position of authority acts out of line to intimidate and attack a poor innocent nursing mother of an infant and loses it, but they're being recorded. Sorry, but I'm just not compelled to click to read more. It makes me think you have no significant experience flying, especially with an infant, and that you're trying to make up something that you don't know enough about. If you want to keep this story alive, make it more believable. Maybe change the intimidating aggressor into a fellow passenger who is making the threats and intimidating the poor mother rather than the airline hostess. We all can understand that better. That would fix it. This ultimately isn't a story about authority, but about the cameras capturing bad behavior. If you want to make it about abuse of authority being recorded, then change the details where it's not about a bottle of TSA-approved formula that any flight attendant would be fully aware of as either being legit or not. Update 3. That pretty well sums it up, much better than I could write it. However, I want to add that Reddit does allow you to write out longer pieces as replies. I get that OP wants to get people to the website to get ad impressions, but the immediate turnoff for me on the site was writing an entire next line as a headline. I understand how SEO works, but if each is supposed to be a chapter header, you want to write teasers in a few words as the title, then put your text in regular lettering. You can repost the in and then use an anchor to bring us to the correct place in the story. Edit. Lest I forget, it's a good idea to use a serif for longer stories. It's easier for the eyes.